proceedings of the 4th M.K. Nambyar Memorial Lecture. May we begin the proceedings with a small invocation.
मैत्रीं भजत अखिल हृजेत्री मैत्रीं भजत अखिल हृजेत्री मैत्रीं भजत अखिल हृजेत्री आत्मवदेव परानपि पश्यत आत्मवदेव परानपि पश्यत युद्धं त्यजत स्पर्धां त्यजत युद्धं त्यजत स्पर्धां त्यजत त्यजत परेष्वक्रममाक्रमणं त्यजत परेष्वक्रममाक्रमणं मैत्रीं भजत अखिल हृजेत्री मैत्रीं भजत अखिल हृजेत्री जननी पृथ्वी कामदुघाते जननी पृथ्वी कामदुघाते जनको देवः सकल दयालुः जनको देवः सकल दयालुः दाम्यत दत्त दयध्वं जनता दाम्यत दत्त दयध्वं जनता श्रेयो भूयात् सकल जनानां श्रेयो भूयात् सकल जनानां श्रेयो भूयात् सकल जनानां श्रेयो भूयात् सकल जनानां श्रेयो भूयात् सकल जनानां.
Thank you. With that mellifluous rendition by Srimati M.S. Subbalakshmi calling for global peace, let us begin the proceedings of the 4th M.K. Nambyar Memorial Lecture with a welcome address, and I'm extremely happy to welcome the speaker, Justice Shri Arjun Kumar Sikri, Justice Harish Vaidyanathan Shankar, who will be delivering the special address, the judge of the Delhi High Court, Senior Advocate Mr. C.S. Vaidyanathan, Senior Advocate Mr. K.K. Venugopal, whose unseen presence will definitely be seen during the proceedings of this session, my faculty colleagues, students, other friends from the bar and the bench who are watching this online as we live stream this special address. I am extremely happy to welcome all of you on behalf of the SASTRA Law School and on my personal behalf. You see, it is a tradition that we always have when it comes to the M.K. Nambyar Memorial Lecture, in terms of choosing some of the best minds to deliver the lecture, and not only the person, but also the topic that gets chosen for a lecture of this type is also special. Continuing the same tradition, we have amidst us this morning Honorable Justice Shri Arjun Kumar Sikri, the former judge of the Supreme Court of India and also judge in the International Arbitration Court in Singapore, who kindly acceded to our request to deliver the 4th M.K. Nambyar Memorial Lecture. The previous editions, we have seen Justice Rohinton Nariman, Justice UU Lalit, delivering lectures on different topics of contemporaneous relevance. And the topic that Justice Sikri has chosen today, law, business, and economics and human rights, is equally contemporaneous. And I must honestly confess my ignorance on the subject at large, but definitely thought I will just quickly give a quick backdrop as to why this is so relevant for the present times. And the person in whose honor that we are having this lecture, a legend who actually shaped the contours of constitutional jurisprudence, whose contribution was a forerunner for the Keshavananda Bharati case, which later formed the sheet anchor for all those larger issues that were addressed that protected the basic tenets of the Constitution, of which human rights was a fundamental part. And today, the extent to which human rights is also being dealt in different verticals and domains of law is so much that economics, business, all of them have an influencing variable that impacts human rights. Whether it is economics or business, the way in which wealth is distributed, wealth is created and measured by the Gini coefficient, as most of us know, the way in which there are inequities, the way in which there is imbalance, all of this has some effect on human rights. And I see this as a topic that is an opportunity for us to also learn and reflect on ourselves as to how we will address this growing relevance of human rights that touches upon different domains of law as a subject. And we must definitely be thankful to have Justice Sikri, who comes with tons of experience, who has enriched both the bar and the bench in different capacities in Delhi, in Punjab, Haryana, and Supreme Court, and now enriching it further, going beyond boundaries. And that's one of the reasons why this fourth M.K. Nambyar Memorial Lecture is special to us. We welcome you, sir, on behalf of SASTRA, the entire family of SASTRA, and the audience here for this address. And I'm equally happy to welcome Justice Harish Vaidyanathan Shankar, who also acceded to a request to deliver a special address that I think will also form a good context to what we await in the form of the memorial lecture from Justice Sikri himself. I must in advance also thank Senior Advocate Mr. K.K. Venugopal, who definitely will be joining in a different manifestation of himself very soon. And also thank Mr. C.S. Vaidyanathan for being instrumental in this initiative, because it is through his munificent grant that we have the C.S. Vaidyanathan Chair at Shastra School of Law, of which one of this event is becoming a flagship event under the activities of the chair. So I welcome you, sir, and thank you very much for the support that you have been giving us. And I also welcome all my fellow colleagues, students, and other distinguished members of this online event for this fourth M.K. Nambyar Memorial Lecture. I welcome you all. Thank you very much. It is now my pleasure and duty to request Justice Harish Shankar Vaidyanathan to deliver a special address on this momentous occasion, please.
Thank you very much, sir. It's an honor to be, to be a part of this entire proceedings, and to be very candid. I was a bit embarrassed when I saw the invite. I am featured. My photograph is featured with two giants, with two colossuses of the legal fraternity, and that, frankly, for somebody who's hardly started off on his journey, it was a bit of an embarrassment. But nonetheless, what has been done is done. So now, we are, after all, here gathered here in the memory of who I believe is, I could probably describe him as a banyan tree, from where the aerial roots of various legal concepts have taken further root and grown by themselves into another tree, thereby spreading this huge canopy of, legal precedents and judgments. And that is only one manner in which Mr. Nambyar has, I think, influenced the legal world. The other manner in which he has done it is also, again, by way of those aerial roots taking shape of another banyan tree in the form of Mr. Venugopal, and then further on in the form of Mr. Vaidyanathan, and in the form of so many others, Justice Nariman, Justice Vishwanathan. So we are looking, in fact, at what I would believe is this hugely forested, legal agglomeration which is there, both in terms of the fundamentals of legal precedents and precepts, and of course, legal professionals and luminaries themselves. So I think it's really momentous, and it's a great honor to be able to participate in a function which is, in fact, in a manner felicitating him and his life and and his contributions. Because what can we say about Mr. Venugopal? I think he is a legend. Everyone knows about him. And we've had, I think, more than a dozen seniors from that chamber. He's probably, established a whole new level of number of successful, seniors from his chamber, and of course judges. And of course, it's really significant that Mr. Sikri is here, Justice Sikri is here. See, Nambyar sir used to be known as the champion of fundamental rights, and it's extremely significant that Justice Sikri is here because of his seminal judgments. I think we're all aware of the passive euthanasia, the living will judgment that was there in common cause, and of course the Nalsa judgment, where the rights of the third gender were recognized, which till then were not there. Then of course Puttaswamy, who can forget Puttaswamy? The Aadhaar card and the right to privacy, one of the rights which today I think all of us exercise in in a very significant manner everywhere. Then of course we are talking about perhaps the other fundamental right to life, where I think in the Arjun Gopal judgment, which Sir was also a party, where right to life was extended to the right to breathe air. Delhi today has become like a smog chamber, has become the Auschwitz of India, so to say. So I think, it's very fitting, and we are grateful to Justice Sikri for having assented to deliver this lecture. And I wouldn't want to, I wanted to also talk a little bit about the chair and what it has been doing. And I must compliment you, sir, for further propagating the entire idea of human rights, and also one of the major facets of which is access to justice, and all these legal aid clinics that you've been holding. I think it's a very important facet of delivery of justice in the system as such, and we're grateful to you for that. And please, I would request you to please continue. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. We will assure all our best efforts to make sure that this chair further advances through our legal aids and other activities. Some of the fundamental tenets that you have pointed out, and we are actually duty bound to do that. So thank you very much for that. Ever since we started this M.K. Nambyar Memorial Lecture Series, it was always a pleasure to hear the senior advocate and legend, Mr. K.K. Venugopal, joining us online. But nevertheless, today he had other personal commitments which actually limited him from joining online. But it is his acknowledgement of the fact that an event of this type should have Mr. KKV's stamp in one form or the other. And that is why he was so kind enough and generous to actually record a short speech and send it to me in advance when I made this request, because I didn't want an MK Nambyar Memorial Lecture without the voice of Sri KKV embedded in it. So we have a short message from Sri KKV himself that will be played before we hear to Justice Sikri. So may I please request Sri KKV's message to be played. So KK Venugopal's message. Yeah.
Justice Sikri, Sri C.S. Vaidyanathan, Justice Harish Vaidyanathan, Dr. S. Vaidya students of SASTRA University and friends. I am highly appreciative of the fact that my friend C.S. Vaidyanathan has once again sponsored the M.K. Nambyar Memorial Lecture. SASTRA University and its Vice Chancellor, Dr. S. Vaidya have been hosting the M.K. Nambyar Memorial Lecture, and for that I am always thankful to them. This year, no less than Justice A.K. Sikri, retired judge of the Supreme Court of India, who is also an international judge, being part of the Singapore International Commercial Court, is delivering the lecture. I remember appearing any number of times before Justice Sikri. He was clear and precise in the questions that he put to counsel, and his court was one of the most pleasant ones in which to argue one's cases in the Supreme Court of India. He was always amiable, smiling, and would ensure that the younger lawyers who appeared before him were always treated with kindness so that they could build up their confidence. His intellectual excellence is amply demonstrated in the judgments delivered by him, including landmark decisions like the Puttuswamy case relating to Aadhaar, the Nalsar case relating to rights of transgenders in India, and the common cause judgment regarding passive euthanasia. I can truly say that I am most happy that Justice Sikri has agreed to deliver this lecture in my father's name. I started my practice in the year 1954, and what I am today is purely due to my father. Though, when he passed away in 1975, he was one of the topmost constitutional lawyers in the country. There is a lot of luck that followed him throughout his career as a lawyer. While public prosecutor and government pleader in South Canada, he was invited by Justice Govinda Menon, who was being elevated to the High Court, to come out to Madras and take over his extensive practice, consisting of a large number of cases. The second streak of luck was when Sri V.G. Rao, barrister, noticed him arguing criminal cases in the Madras High Court involving death sentence and using constitutional law principles in favor of his client. Sri Rao therefore asked him to accept A.K. Gopal's case, and with this piece of luck, he led a galaxy of senior Supreme Court lawyers, and on the first day convinced the judges of the Supreme Court about his capacity, competence, and learning to put over a case involving heavy constitutional principles. With this judgment, he became a preeminent constitutional lawyer with demands from all over the country to appear in various high courts and the Supreme Court. I was a beneficiary of his hard work, being referred to frequently in the early years of my practice as Barrister Nambyar's son. I am sure that today we are in for a scintillating presentation by Justice Sikri on a very important topic, economics and human rights, jurisprudential perspective. Thank you.
I must wholeheartedly thank Senior Advocate Mr. KK Venugopal for the generosity that he showered to make sure that we have this event with his blessings as well. I dare not venture to introduce an intellectual who is going to deliver the fourth M.K. Nambyar Memorial Lecture. From what Justice Harish and Mr. KKV spoke, now we can see an image of a jurist whose voyageous exploration, both as an advocate and as a judge, has really left inedible footprints in the contours of constitutional jurisprudence. And the topic that he has chosen also, as I said in my welcome address, is so contemporary that it is definitely a gift for students of law and practitioners of law to understand the growing convergence of human rights, the economic bandwidth with which there will be definitely jurisprudential dimensions to this, is something that makes the entire speech so interesting even before it has started. So with this background, may I please request Justice A.K. Shikri to deliver the fourth M.K. Nambyar Memorial Lecture.
Thank you, Dr. Subramaniam. Mr. C.S. Vidyanathan. I'm in one way breaching the protocol with Harish there, who is the judge of the High Court. I should have named him first, but Harish, in the presence of your father, I have to recognize your father first, and who is, in any case, a stalwart in his own rights. Mr. Vidyanathan, Justice Harish Vidyanathan, Dr. Subramaniam, Mr. K.K. Venugopal in absentia. At my request, two persons whom you can see here, Shreya Arora and Nidhi Arora, they have joined online. All the students and others who are joining online and listening to today's proceedings, my good morning to all of you. This lecture is in the memory of Mr. M.K. Nambyar, about whom we have been talking from the beginning of the proceedings. As I have known him, he was a first-generation lawyer from Kerala who completed his master's in law from England, and he rose to the greatest heights as an ace lawyer, and his success can be attributed to the sterling qualities which he possessed. They are needed by any lawyer to be successful, namely hard work, diligence, integrity, and scholarship. He proved to be an excellent constitutional lawyer, and it would not be an exaggeration to say that he played sterling role in shaping the Constitution from the word go. Our Constituent Assembly, comprised of the persons of wisdom, great wisdom, if I may say so, after their untiring efforts, had given us the beautiful document, our Constitution of India. However, it was left to the judiciary to chisel it and bring out, as I say, a hidden angel in this great document. And the judges, to accomplish this pious task, needed great lawyers to provide necessary tools, because that is the contribution which only lawyers can give. I always say that judges cannot accomplish their task without the good assistance and even, I would say, guidance of the lawyers. So here I may acknowledge, and everybody acknowledges, the great work of Mr. Nambyar. From the inception of the Constitution, he was associated with landmark cases involving the basic freedoms, fundamental rights, and other constitutional questions. Likewise, Mr. Nambyar laid down the foundation of developed and championed insofar as various principles in constitutional law are concerned. As for many, the roots of Mr. Nambyar's greatness can be traced to him being a staunch fighter for human rights and cases. He himself said once, and I quote, "Man is born in chains, shall be free, and to the last of my breath I will fight for his freedom." That was the spirit in which he used to do the cases. The arguments canvassed by him in the very first significant constitutional law case in the very first year in 1950 itself, to which all the speakers earlier have alluded, that is A.K. Gopalan versus State of Madras, favoring an expansive interpretation of Article 21 and 19, laid the foundation for many principles which form the bedrock of the Indian constitutional law today. If I may at this juncture even quote our, I think the greatest, one of the greatest, or maybe the greatest judge, Justice Krishna Iyer, who paid his tribute to Mr. Nambyar in these words: "There was a commitment about him in the garb of fundamental rights. He fought the case A.K. Gopalan's not for the ideology of his client, who was a communist, but for the ideology of human rights, which found expression in Part 3. His complete commitment to human cause." There are many, many other cases which he has fought and successfully, and I may again use the word, guided the benches of the constitution benches of the Supreme Court at that time to come to right conclusions and lay down or expand the contours of our fundamental rights and the constitutional rights. Some of these cases, if I may say so, are West Remnant Electrical Distribution versus State of Madras, Deep Chand versus State of Uttar Pradesh, Kerala Education Bill case pertaining to rights of minority in educational institution vis-a-vis state's power to regulate them, Express newspaper case pertaining to freedom of journalists to carry on business in the context of their service conditions, Privy Purse case, as we know, Madhav Rao, Jivaji Rao Scindia case, Gullapalli Nageshwar Rao versus AP State Road Transportation case, Shinde Brothers versus Deputy Commissioner, and the list goes on and on. I tell you, I still remember when I was looking, preparing this lecture, I vividly remembered as a law student when we used to, because in our Delhi University in those days, and even I think it is even now, we have a case law system. That is, we are taught through the judgments which we have to read. And I found in 1950s, 60s, or even early 70s, almost every judgment in constitutional law, we would find the name of Mr. Nambyar there as a lawyer who had appeared on one side or the other. And I still, again, very clearly remember telling some of my colleagues there that, look, as a student, we are saying, who is Mr. Nambyar? Look, he is almost in every case constitutional matter which is there. And that was his greatness, his contribution in the case of Golaknath, again, relating to the amending powers under Article 368 of the Constitution is tremendous, which laid way in few years later to come in the Keshwananda Bharati case, and which still holds the field, and it is known as the North Star of the Constitution, which guides the judges even today to arrive at fair and proper conclusions in each cases. So I would say that I may add that it's not only his legal prowess or legal wisdom, but he was a kind-hearted person with gentle human nature who always encouraged his junior and helped the needy. It is for these reasons that he is remembered fondly with great amount of respect and reverence even today. His rich legacy is taken forward by our beloved KKV, as we call him, who has earned equal fame and respect in the legal profession. He is a living legend, and I can at least I can say that going by his age and even today, the way he is still so active, he is the Bhishma Pitama of our legal profession. His philanthropy is well known, and his contribution, as I always call it LSR, we have the term CSR, which is corporate social responsibility. And this is LSR, I say that lawyers' social responsibility, the social causes of lawyers, which he has been espousing and championing. And so many, I think, awards, scholarships, chairs, which he has established in the name of his father, Mr. M.K. Nambyar, is really well known. And therefore, I salute Mr. Venugopal for that. And I'm sure that his father, Nambyar, would be the most satisfied soul and is showering his blessings not only on his son, Mr. Venugopal, but grandson, Krishan Venugopal, as well, who is also treading the same path as his father. This series of memorial lectures started by SASTRA University is itself a rich tribute to the scholarship of Mr. Nambyar. I express my admiration for Mr. C.S. Vaidyanathan, who has established this chair on law and development, and the lecture series is organized under the aegis of the said chair. I am thankful to Shastra University, Mr. Venugopal, Mr. Vaidyanathan, and my, I can say, younger brother Harish, Justice Harish Vaidyanathan, who is here to and is gracing this occasion. And I'm thankful, Dr. Vedya Subramaniam, for giving me this opportunity to deliver this lecture today. Let me now advert to the topic of the lecture, which I intend to deliver. From the title of the topic, you can discern that I want to discuss in this address the economic approach in judicial decision making. In the post-pandemic era, particularly, the economy and its constituents have assumed special attention. The fact that imbuing economic jurisprudence in decision making is the need of the hour reminds me of what the great judge Justice Oliver Wendell Holmes had said in his famous paper titled The Path of the Law. He said, and I quote, "For the rational study of law, the black letter man may be the man of the present, but the man of the future is the man of statistics and the master of economics. We learn that for everything we have to give up something else, and we are taught to set the advantage we gain against the other advantages we lose, and to know what we are doing when we elect." Unquote. These lines of Justice Holmes eloquently provide the roadmap of the time where various advances in social sciences are shaping some of the most successful approaches that were arising out of the cross pollination of key models from different fields or were an intersection of philosophy between disciplines. All this postulated an exceptionally fertile place for the emergence of ideas in the fields of law and economics, thereby exemplifying not only the significance of its increased meticulousness, but also the power of interdisciplinary thinking. In its earlier phase, law confined the use of economics to antitrust, regulated industries, tax, and some special topics like determining monetary damages. In these areas, law needed economics to find an answer to the questions which were the subject matter of disputes. But in later half of 19th century, this limited interaction changed dramatically when the economic analysis of law expanded into more traditional areas of law such as property, contracts, torts, and even criminal law, and also the constitutional law. This new trend uses tools from economic to enrich our understanding of the laws and studies of role of law in the marketplace. So, it would not be an exaggeration to say that economics has changed the nature of legal scholarship. The common understanding of legal rules and institutions, and even the practice of law. Economics generally provides a behavioral theory to predict how people respond to laws, and this surpasses intuition just as science surpasses common sense. The response of people is always relevant to making, revising, repealing, and interpreting laws. And therefore, as far as policymakers are concerned, including the legislature and the executive, they make the laws or formulate the policies, keeping in view the economic impact and economic repercussions of many of these laws. A famous essay in Law and Economics describes the law as a cathedral, and I'm quoting here Guido Calbaresi, who said, "A large, ancient, complex, beautiful, mysterious, and sacred building is the connect of law and economics." At this juncture, let me digress a little. What is the underlying objective and purpose of law? The students are told in the classes of jurisprudence every day. Obviously, the law is a tool to render justice. For the last various centuries, many jurists have written about law and justice and propounded various jurisprudential schools of thought in this behalf. Some of the famous names are John Austin, Hans Kelsen, Professor Hart, Savigny, Sir Henry Maine, Roscoe Pound, Karl Marx, Ehrlich, Thomas Hobbes, John Locke, Rousseau, Immanuel Kant, etc., and the students of jurisprudence must be reading these names. To this list, I may also add Nobel laureate and our own Professor Amartya Sen, who has written a beautiful book titled Idea of Justice, giving the economic approach to how justice can be imparted by taking some of the economic principles and for the marginalized section of the society, to which Dr. Vaidya Subramaniam also in his opening remarks alluded to. From all these discourses, we have studied the concept of law and jurisprudence as analytical, sociological, historical, realistic, theological, and modern natural. And of course, when we take the names of Karl Marx and as I've said, our Amartya Sen, the economic principles, economic jurisprudence as well. Two aspects which I would need to highlight from the jurisprudential thoughts propounded from time to time, which are: number one, the primary objective of law is to do justice to the people or the subjects of the state, and therefore we need to delve into an appropriate theory of justice founded on the principles of justice as fairness or distributive justice. And number two, most scholars now recognize that the law is a multidimensional phenomena: historical, philosophical, psychological, social, political, economic, and religious, in its inspiration and implications. Furthermore, almost all contemporary legal scholars, judges, and lawyers hold an instrumental view of the law, instrumental in the sense that legal rules are adopted so as to promote some goal, be it equality, justice, fairness, or efficiency. So today, the law is being analyzed from an incredibly diverse set of perspectives: critical legal studies, rights based theory, feminist jurisprudence, and critical race theory, all of which claim to have something worthwhile to say as to the origin, legitimacy, and development of law. In this context, I mean, in a wider canvas, which I have tried to project in briefly, I want to confine myself, as the topic itself says, how economic approach to law is considered as a tool to render justice. In the process of such an analysis, it is also to be borne in mind that social justice particularly for the marginalized section of the society, is one of the fundamental aims of the Indian Constitution. Therefore, while adopting economic approach to law for the financial growth of the country, we have also to keep in mind the human rights they are guaranteed to the citizens of this country in Chapter 3 of the Constitution. In such circumstances, the economic analysis of law would need nuanced approaches, and I would allude to these nuanced approaches. What could be when we discuss some of the cases which have been decided by the Supreme Court. So, in this spirit, my objective in the present address is to shed some light upon the nuanced approaches which can consolidate the symbiosis of law and economics in an era of multilateralism. To facilitate such an analysis, I have bifurcated this address in two parts. In part one, I shall explore the epistemology of law and economics and the role of judiciary in increasing the importance of marrying law and economics by discussing some transformative judgments. Here, I will discuss how the court should strive to balance law and economics, and in doing so, must go by scientific evidence and not general notions. In part two of the address, I would eulogize upon some nuanced approaches, as I have said earlier, which can be adopted by the judiciary in its decision making to deal with specific issues in law and economics, particularly when economic approach appears to be in conflict with human rights or where two fundamental rights are conflicting with each other. So let me now come to part one, that is the epistemology of law and economics and the judicial decision making. Although the seeds of contemporary law and economics go back at least a century, as I have mentioned earlier, it is only in past 5 decades that it has emerged as substantial and important body of thought within both economics and law. Law and economics have often been promoted as tool to be used by policymakers, as I said, to make laws, etc., and even the policies, which guide the economic principles. Several scholars have argued that apart from legislature and the executive, but many scholars have now highlighted and argued that judges should also be guided by economic principles when deciding cases. For instance, Judge Richard Posner, a great judge and protagonist of law and economics, who has written beautiful books on this, and he's a judge from America. Of course, he retired a few years ago. Argued that judges should consider wealth maximization as a guiding value in deciding common law cases. To the extent that economic analysis helps identify which rules maximize wealth, the use of such analysis would be an important tool for judges. Justice Guido Calbaresi, whom I referred to earlier as well, has also argued that efficiency is a component of justice, and therefore judges should concern themselves with efficiency as they decide cases. There are many, many other scholars who have talked about it. And for the, in order to save time, I would not allude to all the names of all these scholars. But I would say that insofar as India is concerned, in few judgments, the judges have started now emphasizing the importance of law and economics, or the importance of, I would say, economics in interpreting the law in order to maximize the welfare of the people and the economy of the country. I may quote from Shiv Shakti Sugar Limited versus Shri Renuka Sugar Limited, a judgment rendered by the Supreme Court in 2017, incidentally, of which I am the author. And this is what we had said in that case. And I quote: "The judicial wing while undertaking the task of performing the judicial function, is also required to perform its role in this direction. It calls for an economic analysis of law approach, most commonly referred to as law and economics. The first duty of the court is to decide the case by applying the statutory provision. There is no doubt about it. We can't digress from the law which we are interpreting. However, on the application of the law and while interpreting a particular provision, the economic impact or the effect of a decision, wherever warranted, has to be kept in mind. Likewise, in a situation where two views are possible or wherever there is a discretion given to the court by law, the court needs to lean in favor of a particular view which subserves the economic interest of the nation. Conversely, the court needs to avoid that particular outcome which has the potential to create an adverse effect on employment, growth of infrastructure, or economy, or the revenue of the state. You know, many cases which are given by the courts from time to time, and many scholars today they discuss that how it is going to have the impact of on the economy. Let me give simple example of our environmental laws. And whenever some projects which are to be undertaken by the or established by the government, and they may be for the welfare of the country as far as economic growth is concerned, but at the same time we also say that look, we have to see its impact on the environment, and therefore the principle which has been developed by the courts that we should harmonize the development as well as the environmental effect also at the same time, and how to balance that, it's always taken into consideration. And interestingly, there's one book authored by Professor Pradeep S. Mehta. It is title of the book is Supreme Court and the Indian Economy. He has undertaken a critical review of 6 cases of the Supreme Court, which includes Shiv Shakti sugar mill case, also a judgment which I have just now referred to. And the 5 other cases are: number one, State of Tamil Nadu versus K. Balu and another, when the court banned liquor sale on highways to curb accidents, if you remember that judgment. Number two, MC Mehta versus Union of India, where the court directed while its order in 2017 that vehicles not complying with BS4 emission norms, including two-wheelers, three-wheelers, four-wheelers, or commercial vehicles, would not be allowed to be sold in India. Then number three, coal block allocation case, that is Manohar Lal Sharma versus Principal Secretary, where the court struck down many coal block allocations, frowning upon the manner in which these blocks were allocated without resorting to competitive bidding. And fourth, CPIL versus Union of India 2G spectrum case, in which the court cancelled 2G spectrum allotted to various telecom companies, holding that allocations had been made in a wholly arbitrary and capricious manner, contrary to public interest and violative of Article 14. And fifth is AGR case, very well known AGR case, Union of India versus Association of United Telecom Providers of Service, where the Supreme Court in 2019 passed a judgment that how for that spectrum which is given to the telecom companies, how you have to compute the AGR, annual general revenue, which was to be given to them. And this book is worth reading. He has said that in all these 5 cases, the court did not undertake the outcome were not in the best interest of the country's economy. 2 or 3 cases out of this, to which I would refer to when I go to the next part, that is the nuances which the courts need to adopt in deciding such cases. But I may only say make some preliminary remarks in respect of coal allocation and this 2G spectrum cases. Of course, both the cases are decided on the ground that, or we may say, applying the principle of administrative law and constitutional law, Article 14, etc., and how spectrum is to be given, how licenses are to be given. It can't be a bounty to be given to any person by exercising or in exercise of whims or caprice, and it has to be fairly done and by competitive bidding. No problem on this. In administrative law, I'm not touching upon the manner in which the court dealt with the issue, applying the legal principles. But when it comes to the economic effect which it had, question is whether the court could have used, which the Supreme Court has been using time and again, powers under Article 142 of the Constitution and molded the relief at the end without cancelling the licenses. And both that time, there could have been penalties simply or some more revenue. And that it could have done better justice in keeping in mind the economic interest of the country. So that's the only, I will leave it at that. But other cases I'll come to when I start. And now I mention about the need for nuanced approaches in the field. Now, here, let me first, before coming to the nuanced approach, say something about the dilemma which the courts may have because of the two conflicting interests which may be before the court. And I'll demonstrate how it can come, and then come to the tools which can be adopted in resolving such situations. So first, I may mention about the human rights, as that is one of the aspects which I have to cover in this. So human rights and economics are concepts that are intrinsically linked to each other. On the one hand, one must admit that asserting human rights demand economic means, and on the other hand, the efficacy and efficiency of the agent's economic decisions presupposes a significant degree of liberties. There is therefore an economic dimensions to human right as such, as much as human rights dimension to economics. At the same time, they often have conflicting language. Economics is characterized by its goals of pursuit of isolated individual personal interest and social welfare. It often reduces society's complexity to scientific law and is reluctant to include human rights into its equation. That is a pure theory of economics if it is applied to law, and many scholars have stated that. And this is one of the limitation also, which has been always touched upon. Human rights, on the other hand, bolstered by international instruments and constitutional principles, are intrinsic and indivisible entitlement which cannot be given an economic measure. They are inalienable rights which must be sacrificed at the altar of any amount of social good, efficiency, or compensation. One of the first persons to have pointed out the conflicting logic of economics and human rights is Noam Chomsky, who in his two-volume work on political economy of human rights has very wonderfully described this conflict. The human rights exception to economic analysis of law was co-opted into its conceptual foundation and technical apparatus by scholars like Amartya Sen, which we can find in his book, not only in Idea of Justice, but other book also, in Martha Nussbaum. They are the co-authors of the book. They critique the centrality of individual and social utility in welfare economics and argued for individual entitlements, opportunities, capabilities, freedoms, and basic human rights, especially rights to be free from government interference in certain areas of choice. Amartya Sen, through his groundbreaking works on the capabilities approach, he has propounded his capabilities approach, emphasizes that entitlement, capabilities, and functionings of individuals are better predictors of individuals and social behaviors than self-interest utilized maximization. The economic analysis of law explicitly pegs the effectiveness of a law on tangible measures such as its social efficiency and social goals of law. And the most desirable law in the is the one which is the most efficient in achieving its objective. This, unlike the other approaches of analyzing the law, which often leaves the criteria of social good unclear or substantially implicit. So, therefore, let us understand this economic approach on the one hand and the conflict as far as human rights are concerned. Now, the cases which I refer to, let me take the first case, that is the the emission standard case. Now, here where the BS4 vehicles were banned. In this case, if the court's decision intended to stop more polluting vehicles from plying on the road in the interest of public health, which is a facet of right to life under Article 21, then the court achieved little by banning those vehicles. That is what is to be seen. If that was the purpose, it was not going to be achieved by merely banning B4 vehicles. This is because the banned vehicles were eventually sold at discounted rates because the court had set up the date that from this date it would be, but there were thousands and lakhs of vehicles which are already manufactured with BS3 or BS2, which were lying. Now, the no manufacturer would have just condemned those vehicles. So they sold these vehicles before the cutoff date at a discounted rate. What happened? Vehicles still came into the market, but it is the manufacturer who ultimately suffered the loss to some extent, and even the state exchequer suffered the loss. So this not only defeated the purpose of the ban, but also caused a great deal of financial agony to the auto sector, which is known to have one of the higher multiplier effects on the economy. So how in a matter like this, where human rights was also there and economic interest was also there, how it could have been resolved otherwise? So therefore, the analysis of the court suffered from the problem of, as I call, polycentricity, when the court went by the intent of auto fuel policy, which meant to ensure the induction of lesser polluting vehicles in a phased manner. While the policy laid out clear timelines for new standards to become applicable, a precedent existed where the auto industry on an earlier occasion was allowed to clear old inventories with some relaxation to enable transition to new emission norms in a smooth manner. It was earlier done, but it was not done in this case. So that is my critique insofar as the judgment is concerned. Now, liquor ban case, that on highways there should not be any liquor vends within 500 meters. The gaping hole was with regard to enforceability. The judgment was pronounced to rein in road accidents due to drunken driving, and the court passed an order prohibiting the sale of alcohol within a distance of 500 meters from the national and state highways in the country. However, the Supreme Court did not provide any empirical rationale here when the economics come, whether it was merely because of the presence of those alcohol vends on the highways that it was causing, what was, and if the accidents were taking place on the highways, whether it was only because of the driver driving the vehicles in a drunken manner. There was no such statistics, no such empirical data before the court, and in spite of that, going by that right to life under Article 21, so this extreme measure was taken. So how in such circumstances this one can, what should be the approach? Now I come to that. Here I would say the solution lies in the normative analysis, which is useful to organize, design, and reform the legal architecture in such a way that it ensures the most efficient outcome possible. It is potent. It is a potent tool at the disposal of legislature and judges who enact and interpret the law to improve the quality of our laws and legal rules. As Judge Richard Posner pointed out in his book Frontiers of Legal Theory, and I quote, in its normative aspect of law, in its normative aspect, law and economics advises judges and other policymakers on the most efficient method of regulating conduct through law. So that is what is to be seen. Now, I just give a reverse example to which Justice Harish also alluded to, and which we are facing today in Delhi, that is air pollution. Now, air pollution, and we know the order during Diwali was passed about the crackers. It has been a debate for a number of years that we know during Diwali when there is I mean, fireworks and crackers are allowed, it causes immediately, we have seen immediate effect of that is that it causes air pollution, and you see the next day after Diwali, we are hardly even able to breathe. Of course, burning of crackers during Diwali is not the only reason for air pollution. That is even today very clearly, I mean, established because Diwali was more than a month ago. And but we are facing worse pollution even today. There are other causes also. And one major cause is stubble burning in the neighboring areas by the farmers. Now, the question that arises is from legal point of view is that we have, and let me now talk of whether there should be a ban on burning of crackers, etc., and what kind of approach should be of the judges when the cases come before the court. Now, we have here a direct conflict of two sets of fundamental rights. On the one hand, we have Article 21, which says right to life, and right to life, live life, the Supreme Court has said, right to live life in a decent manner. And right to health is a part of right to life. So if the kind of air we are now breathing today in Delhi is clearly a violation of Article 21, our right to live, there cannot be any qualms about that. But if you ban any activity, now during this we have graph 1, 2, 3, 4, depending upon how much is the AQI. And I think when graph 3 is there, even the this construction activity is banned. The vehicles, diesel vehicles are banned, and many such things are happening. Apart from now, banning of firecrackers is one thing which I am saying. Now, when coming to burning of firecrackers during Diwali or other religious festivals, now on the other hand, it is Article 25, which is right to the freedom of religion of the people. They say that no, if we are not allowed, it is our right which is violated. Now, whether that is a right in burning firecrackers or not itself is a debatable issue, but I am not going into that. But another issue which arises is, and which is again fundamental right, if we ban some activities, some industrial activities, this production of the crackers, or it will, the many people will lose their employment. The industry will lose, if industry is closed, then they also lose their vocation. So it may seen as infringement of Article 19(1)(g) of the Constitution. So we have Article 21 on the one hand, Article 25 and Article 19(1)(g) on the other hand. So how to resolve it? And what kind of tools which can be adopted? Of course, Justice Harish had mentioned about my judgment in Arjun Gopal. I tried to do that in that case. And I brought, which we had said in the Puttu Swami judgment, Aadhaar judgment, the principle of proportionality. So you apply the principle of proportionality and see that, and balance, try to balance, and where the scales are heavier and where they tilt. And if you see on the one hand, and going by the innumerable or irreversible at times, the causes, the harmful causes of these air pollution. On the one hand, which is right to life, life, and on the other hand, right to this religious practice or right to employment. applying the doctrine of proportionality, I would say that it leans in favor of banning, because and I'm here saying again applying a legal tool, but more than that, since we are talking about the law and economics, even work out the economics of the two. On the one hand, it may be that employment of some people is taken away. It may be that business of some people is taken away. There is some economic loss. But on the other hand, economic loss, if the air pollution remains, it's much, much more. See the health cost. When such air pollution causes, particularly those who are vulnerable and suffering from some diseases, heart diseases or lung diseases, etc., and those who are old persons, and I remember we had seen in next 2 3 days the headlines in the newspaper after Diwali that admission to hospitals had really soared. The hospitals were full of people who were admitted because of bronchitis problems and other, which were the direct result of the pollution. And 2 days, 3 days ago, I read that even the newly born child, a child which is born, is having asthmatic problem. And what is going to be the cost? Not only in terms of economics, health cost for all times to come, for his entire life. And what kind of generation we are giving to this country if the sick people are born because of air pollution. So therefore, if you go by these consideration and apply the two principles which come into force, one is I've already mentioned, doctrine of proportionality, and other is which we call cost, which I have said, and the term which is given is the cost-based analysis. I think it was in that judgment in Narmada Bachao, the Supreme Court had propounded this principle. So therefore, these are the principles which can be propounded while going into all these cases where economic analysis of the law is to be taken and human rights issue also come involved. So therefore, I have taken a lot of time. I would end with this my conclusion that look, the discipline of law and economics is now well established. If we have to move towards a 5 trillion economy and India as number 3, and by 2047 Viksit Bharat, I think judges have now the duty, not only it's their function, they have the duty to keep in mind the economic interest of the nation. Of course, social interest has to be taken into consideration while deciding their cases, and to take in view what is the impact their judgment is going to have insofar as the progress of the nation is concerned. Thank you very much.
So thank you very much, Justice Sikri. It has been wonderful lecture. You laid down the perfect backdrop of the person in whose honor this lecture was delivered, and a quick introduction into the subject itself, and showcased some of the examples, of which a few were under your own authorship as judgments. These all only reinforces the growing emergence of the subject of economics, which, as you rightly pointed out, is a larger canvas that is bringing a lot of legal dimensions under its orbit, and hence also highlighted the role of judges for the future to look at it from multiple perspectives, keeping in mind the overarching objective. At the same time, also ensure the principles of distributive justice and fairness, as you highlighted through the doctrine of proportionality, and also the cost-based analysis. And all of this are clear markers for jurists to actually think and see how law as a subject for social engineering should also now interface with economics, which is a subject of social behavior. So unless the behavioral part and the larger issues that you have highlighted, which are deeply influenced by economics, are not considered within the legal framework, then the debate will keep on continuing. But nevertheless, you have actually triggered some minds to think in this direction to see how we can harmoniously bring both together to make sure that both ends meet at some common ground in the interest of balanced growth in terms of national development, at the same time ensuring that individuals and human development is also not compromised. Thank you very much for such a scholastic exposition, and we are deeply grateful for your presence here. It is now my bounden duty to invite and request Senior Advocate Mr. C.S. Vaidyanathan to summarize the lecture and also deliver the vote of thanks. And before he does that, I must thank the generous efforts that Mr. C.S. Vaidyanathan has put in, as always, towards ensuring the initiatives of the C.S. Vaidyanathan Chair for Law and Development at SASTRA is successful in different ways. And one way is the M.K. Nambyar Memorial Lecture Series that we just listened to. So, Mr. C.S. Vaidyanathan, over to you, please.
Good afternoon, everyone. Justice Sikri, Mr. Venugopal, Harish, Dr. Vaidya Subramaniam, the faculty and students of SASTRA University, and the worldwide audience, including senior advocates, lawyers, and academics. That was a brilliant lecture and a very thought-provoking lecture by Justice Sikri. This is the fourth lecture in the series, which has seen lectures by Justice Rohinton Nariman, Chief Justice Lalit, and Justice Ravindra Bhatt. We have had the privilege of hosting eminent jurists with original thinking and expertise, delivering lectures, and this morning's lecture was exceptional. I think on an area which is not gained importance enough from the point of view of the judges, but which needs to be emphasized more. Before I speak about the lecture, I want to say a few words about Ms. Nambyar also. I had the good fortune of interacting with Ms. Nambyar and watching him in action in court in 1974-75. It's 50 years since he passed away. He passed away on 18th December 1975. And it's 75 years from the time he argued Gopalan. 75 years of Republic and 75 years of Constitution and 75 years of Gopalan. Ms. Nambyar's original thinking and creative interpretation of the Constitution took time to be understood and acted upon by successive generations of judges. I've also had the good fortune of starting my active legal career with Mr. Venugopal in 1974. It's his blessing and the guidance that I received from him and that has provided me with great opportunities. And today, if I have achieved something, it is entirely thanks to Mr. Venugopal. Whatever I am, it is thanks to him. Fortunately, The successive generations are also very successful. Krishna Venugopal and now his son Siddharth has also started practicing law. In this series of lectures, we have had participation by eminent living legends like Chief Justice Venkatacharya, Senior Advocate Mr. Parasaran, and Mr. Venugopal. I think it's God's blessing that we still have them amongst us, guiding us. They're very alert, active, and that's indeed a blessing. Today's lecture will certainly go down as a landmark in the series. I have known 3 generations of Sikris. I have interacted with Justice Sikri's father. I have seen him argue cases in court. I have seen Justice Sikri as a lawyer and as a judge, as a High Court judge and as a Supreme Court judge. And I have seen Justice Sikri's son as a lawyer. So I have had the good fortune of being associated with the Sikri family. Mrs. Sikri is also a lawyer, but of course she ceased to be an active lawyer after Mr. Arjun Sikri became a Justice Sikri. I have seen Justice Sikri evolve from a lawyer and academic to a judge and jurist of eminence, not only in India but internationally. And before I come to the highlights of the lecture, I also want to thank SASTRA University and Dr. Subramaniam, who have been actively pursuing several activities under the chair. SASTRA University School of Law has gained a preeminent position thanks to its energetic and grounded faculty and its brilliant and hardworking students. They deserve full appreciation. The legal aid camps and the legal awareness camps that they have been engaged in has taken the students and faculty to the villages and made them aware of the relevant laws and their legal rights. I refrain from speaking on my son Harish or my daughter Kavita, who is also a lawyer in Canada, except wishing them the best. Today's subject was chosen by Justice Sikri, and it's a testament to his expertise, how he has blended law, economics, and human rights. Our constitution is unique in recognizing the importance of all 3. He spoke about distributive justice, ameliorative justice, and welfare economics. Justice Sikri spoke about marrying law and economics and balancing them. I think it's what he emphasized about judges being guided by economic principles deserves being highlighted, because in today's court, where important cases which have wide ramifications in regard to development of the country and which have high stakes litigation, I think it's very, very important that these principles guide. Some of the cases that Justice Sikri referred to, I have been involved as a lawyer, and I sometimes have had the feeling that unfortunately the judges have not realized the economic impact that the decisions will have. Just as the judges talk about the legislature taking into account the judicial impact of the legislation, it is equally important that judges take into account the economic impact of the judgments and the impact that it will have on the development of the country and in helping the people achieving the minimum needs that they have in respect of their living. The importance of economics in interpreting the law, the economic impact, and advancing the economic interests of the society, which were highlighted by Justice Sikri, I think need to be kept in the forefront by the judges while considering cases of this kind. It is not just simple interpersonal adversarial cases that is being decided, but cases which have a huge impact on the nation, which are being decided by the courts. Therefore, the need for harmonizing economic interests, environment, and development was highlighted. I think the nuanced approach that needs to be taken and is something which has to be borne in mind. Courts should not wear blinkers and but should have a holistic approach. It can't be just interpretation of the law and then deciding by the law, but the impact that it will have on the society at large, which has to be kept in mind. Justice Sikri spoke also about the doctrine of proportionality and the cost-benefit analysis as a tool, as a legal tool, as a tool for the judges to keep in mind. And this emphasis is very important. In fact, in some of the cases which are today being argued also, I have been highlighting how it is the judges, when they take decisions, it can't be only on the basis of yesterday, in fact, the Chief Justice spoke of interpretation based on Indian conditions. And I think this is very, very necessary because we have to be grounded on the harsh realities that the country is facing and take that into account while taking decisions. This address, I think, is really part one. It's just the beginning. And I'm hopeful that Justice Sikri develop this thesis further and address the students and the faculty on this. And also, because what he has propounded today is a matter of considerable significance for the judiciary to keep in mind. And therefore, I think there is a need for further expounding of this thesis. And I'm sure SASTRA University will provide the opportunity to Justice Sikri for continuing this in the next series of lectures. Thank you very much. Thank you, Justice Sikri, once again for this excellent lecture. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. I am willingly grabbing your suggestion and inviting Justice Sikri to campus as per his convenience in the near future. And as you rightly pointed out, this is only part one for what I see could easily be a multiple part lecture, considering the wealth of information that you have shared in this limited time that was available with us, Justice Sikri. So thank you again. Thank you all for your patient presence and listening. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
So thank you, sir.